Hi, everyone. It's Peter Nixon here in my studio in Hong Kong. And I just want to highlight the some of the most important elements in my new book, Trust Gap in Negotiation. It's now available and it's starting to hit the shelves. I've received a bunch of copies. There'll be a link in the comments below on where you can order your own. And if you want, take advantage of the author's discount. Uh, so some of the highlights. First chapter, uh, if we're in silence because we don't trust the situation or the people around us, then we're in fear. And in response to fear, are there only three choices? You know, the traditional fight, flight, or freeze? Well, no. I would suggest there's another one, and I suggest asking questions. And I give examples how to do this. In the next chapter, I talk about the reality that your fear will also expose your inspiration to make things better. And I talk about that on page 18. You know, how do questions actually reveal your inspiration in the silence? And and then two additional aspects. Does it really matter if I dialogue before I take a decision? And how do we sustain prosperity over time? Obviously, through dialogue. A lot of decisions seem to be taken and then they screw up and then they dialogue. So you may feel it takes longer to dialogue with stakeholders before you decide, but in the long term, it's going to be a much better outcome. The next chapter is called Silence Exposes Courage. And that's really interesting because the longer you remain in silence, the more you feel emboldened to try to make things better. And on page 33, I give a list which is proving very popular, sources of silence. And there's many, but look down the list and figure out which ones are most appropriate for you. I give examples from around the world on that one. The next chapter is that leaders, real leadership, courageous leadership, will also expose pretenders. And we have a heck of a lot of pretenders in office nowadays. And that's slowing things down. So I go through the whole chapter on how to spot the courageous leaders and how to spot the pretenders. Here's what I talk about. Courageous leaders refuse to accept the status quo. They put optimal outcomes ahead of personal gains. They're battle tested and they're effective in conflict. They know optimal outcomes are beyond just a win-win. They learn, they follow, and they update their best practices as they go. And they're master craftsmen. That's different than pretenders. Pretenders are they don't they remain silent because that risks exposing their shortcomings. Pretenders also are slow to change. Seen any people like that? They're hard to remove from office, especially in the public sector. Uh, pretenders interpret rules to protect their interests, and they mistake activism for hate, intolerance, and disloyalty. So, you know, we need to get rid of these pretenders and have more courageous leaders to bring the changes we need in the world. Chapter 4, Fate Exposes Design Opportunities. Well, yes, the world's not perfect, and we can design a better world. We can design better governance, and we should not leave our fate to the future because there are problems and we need to fix them. We can't just sit back and accept the way things are. I also, on page 81, go into the details of what the capital flight and talent flight from Hong Kong in the 2020s and my birth city of Montreal in the 1970s teaches us about leadership. An interesting correlation between the two. The next chapter, Experience Exposes Skill. That's the chapter all about trust. Uh, what causes mistrust? How do we build trust? How do we lose trust? All of those things. What destroys trust? You'll imagine I get back to pretenders and courageous leaders there, and the importance of dialogue. And then in the epilogue, dialogue exposes solutions. Um, and here you go. What questions should you be asking to create a better future? I inspire you by having a look at the list. And if you're inspired and you want to make a change, make the world a better place, in the appendix, I give you the tools that I've shared around the world for my career, how to define your success, deal with tough stakeholders, choose the right process, and manage the time and space accordingly. So handy, nice format, cool little book, uh, valuable takeaway. It's the workbook for my workshops. The Leadership Journey workshop will be described in another post, but I hope you can find it. And if you can't, message me and I'll find a way to get it to you. Thanks for listening and all the best until my next post. I'm Peter Nixon here in Hong Kong.